The days get shorter for a reason. But I'm going to be real with you all because I think we're friends now. I was not wired for softness. I'm the child of Cambodian genocide survivors and war refugees. My father was a freedom fighter against the Khmer Rouge. My parents, elders, and ancestors carried war in their bones. And that became the environment that I was born into. Survival, vigilance, endurance, silence. That was the baseline. And then there's where I grew up, just 20 minutes north of Boston in a city called Lynn. Anybody familiar? Yeah, nice. So if you know Lynn, you know the rhyme. Lynn, Lynn, city of sin. You never come out the way you go in. That's right. Which is rude because, hello, we make fluff? Like, how dare you? How dare you? So it's nice little, grittiness and marshmallow sauce. But that was the anthem of my childhood. It was gritty, rough, no nonsense. Really the air that I breathed. So imagine this, being raised by immigrant New Englanders, layered with refugee energy, and a latchkey kid. Do I have any fellow latchkey kids here? Yes, I see you. Anybody not know what a latchkey kid is? Okay, you might be one, sorry to break it to you. It's if you essentially would come home to an empty home after school because you had caregivers that had to work. So it could be with siblings too, but essentially there was no adult supervision. He was just surviving. So yeah, what path do you think I took? If you guessed the military, without looking at the picture, you guessed right. I barely graduated high school, failed at community college. So at 19, I joined active duty military service for funsies. And served for 7 years. Every 2 to 3 years, I moved to a different place. That was great for my nervous system at the time. I was like, this is rad. I don't have to set roots. And I even completed a tour in Iraq, which I did not want to do, so disclaimer there. So everything about my life reinforced the story that softness was not for me, right? Softness was weakness. And to succeed and to survive, I had to armor up. And armor up I did. I was by the book, a rule follower, perfectionist, probably pretty annoying to everybody. And I thought I was built for chaos and a high-tempo life. I signed up for it. I literally would put it in my resume. Can work under stress. No, boo, you were just shut down. But I learned it. But here's the thing about life. It always keeps inviting you back to what you actually need. And for me, that was softness. Over the last decade of my healing journey, I realized something that completely shifted my world. Softness was never really absent. It was buried within. It was with ancestral care and wisdom. And during one of my healing medicine journeys, the goddess, Mao Kali, and if you're not familiar, she's right here. She's the goddess of nurture and destruction. She's complex, she nurtures, and she destroys. But in this particular journey, I did not meet her in her fiery, intense form. She actually showed up to me as tenderness and slowness and as a field of flowers. And she told me that this path of healing will come through surrender and restoration, not fire and burning it all down, although that is also important. So I've really come to realize that softness is not about being passive or weak. Softness is medicine. Softness is resistance, and softness is strength. And softness often can come in tiny micro moments in your daily life, not always these big breakthroughs. It could be allowing yourself to take a break, deciding to sleep on an email response, right? Feeling the sun on your skin, or asking for support. And here's where the neurobiology comes in. Do I have any neurobiology nerds? Yeah, nice. And if you're not, it's okay. I kept it hopefully not so boring. Because it's not just my story. Biologically, we're all not wired for softness. There's a small almond-shaped structure deep inside our brain called the amygdala, right? And that amygdala is our built-in alarm system. Always on duty, always scanning for the environment for danger or threats. And it gets information from another part of the brain called the thalamus. So when it gets that information, it'll immediately ask, am I in danger? What's the threat? What could hurt me? And when the amygdala senses a threat or potential threat, it sends messages to the body, to the nervous system. So that's our friend here, right? That's the system that is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses. And it'll activate it for protection. And protection's not always our typical concept of fight or flight. It mobilizes us, it activates our body, or it causes us to shut down. These responses are super automatic. It doesn't ask for permission or a pause to even check for context. And this wiring makes sense when you remember our collective histories. Many of us come from ancestral lines marked by migration, hardship, poverty, war, and systemic oppression. Our families, elders, and ancestors learned to survive through vigilance, endurance, hardening, and that alertness was wisdom that kept them alive. But here's the nuance. What keeps us alive doesn't always help us heal or thrive. Generations of hypervigilance can keep that amygdala on high alert, even when there's no actual danger or threat present. We then internalize the message that slowing down is unsafe, right? That softness equates weakness, and that rest is indulgent. Think of the amygdala like a smoke detector. It's excellent at sounding alarm when there's a real fire, but it can't tell the difference between a wildfire and burnt toast. In our modern world filled with constant noise, grind culture, urgency, survival pressure, that alarm is always ringing. Our nervous system never gets the signal that the danger has passed. So softness becomes a radical act of neural rewiring. It tells the amygdala and nervous system, we're safe now. We can rest. And over time, these micro moments of softness begin to rewire the brain, creating new pathways of safety, connection, and trust. And through acts like rest, breath, movement, compassion, we teach the brain and body that it no longer has to brace for danger. We rewire survival into safety, vigilance into presence, and endurance into ease. And that's the power of neuroplasticity, the brain's innate ability to change through experience. So when we choose softness, we're not just being gentle with ourselves, we're literally reshaping our nervous systems, teaching our bodies and our lineages that rest, softness, and connection are also forms of strength. When I first discovered the work of Tricia Hersey, the Nap Bishop, author of Rest is Resistance and founder of the Nap Ministry, I was settling into my new home on Guam. Do I have any folks familiar with Guam or been to Guam? Yeah, a few tiny, tiny island. Like when I found out we were moving there, I had to zoom in like repeatedly into the Pacific Ocean. It is so remote. Like literally, like it stresses me out. When I got into the island, I refused to zoom because I'm like, nope, I don't need to know. Yeah. So it looks like paradise. Like these are real pictures from when I lived there. Was amazing. But my nervous system was still in high alert and full volume. We had just lived through a Northern California wildfire evacuation, the first COVID lockdown, and then a move across the Pacific Ocean to that small, remote island with 2 young kids into more quarantines. So Trisha's words about the myth of productivity really met me where I was, tired, frustrated, numb, and running on fumes. And she said, "We are not tied to our productivity. Rest is to not be earned. It is our birthright." And another phrase of hers really imprinted in my mind, body, and spirit. Rest for your ancestors. That truth stopped me in my tracks. I thought about my parents, my elders, my ancestors that survived the war, displacement, and survival in their bodies so that I can stand here today. They didn't endure all of that for me to live and struggle forever. So I started to give myself permission to rest for them, for the times that they couldn't. And when I did, and in that slowing down, my nervous system softened. I could finally tell the difference between actual fire and burnt toast. Not real burnt toast, because I don't burn toast. Never. Just bacon. So that rest became reclamation. It reconnected me to the coconut trees outside the window of our new home. And it reminded me of the stories that my dad used to tell me about having to use them as an escape from territorial wild boars in the jungles of Cambodia. And it connected me to my children, my partner, and to myself. And in that slowing down, another truth revealed itself through Audre Lorde's wisdom. Caring for myself is not indulgent. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. Her words reframed what I was learning, that rest, softness, and care are not luxuries, but acts of resistance against the systems that teach us to exhaust ourselves to prove our worth. And that softness began to reshape how I spoke to myself. It quieted the harsh inner critic, internalized voices of productivity, assimilation, and survival. It allowed for an alternative voice that said, tenderness and rest are not signs of defect or weakness. They are repair. And through this slowing, I also felt a new kind of longing for community. So I started to share my thoughts and experiences online, and like many others, created a podcast on intersectionality and true crime with a dear friend and a fellow millennial therapist and child of immigrants. And through this, I was able to connect to the Cambodian diaspora and many others across the world through our vulnerability and shared experiences. And this became part of my decolonizing work, remembering that we are wired for connection and co-regulation. We've been told that codependency is a flaw, but co at its roots mean mutual. What we're truly meant for is interdependence, the way our ancestors lived before industrialism fractured us into isolation. So calling softness home is the act of returning ourselves and our lineages back to connection, rest, and belonging. And softness taught me self-compassion. It gave me permission to rest and unhook from the wheel of productivity to remember that love, belonging, and community are not luxuries. They are basic human needs, as essential as food, shelter, and breath. And as I currently train for the Angkor Wat half marathon race in December 2026, I carry my ancestors' endurance with me, not as pressure to perform, because it's not about speed, but as a reminder that endurance is built with intention and care. And each run became a conversation with my body, listening to its rhythms, honoring when it calls for movement and when it asks for rest. Because it's about remembering that strength can be soft, and that I could run with both power and gentleness. And softness found me in quiet rituals of creating and using my hands. Crocheting, sketching, and carving ancient and traditional Cambodian clay designs and tending to the garden. Because I've never been a stillness girly. That's been really hard to do, and I've come to acceptance about that, and that's okay. But these moving meditations invited me into silence and into reflection as I imagined my ancestors creating with their hands, the builders, the creatives, the artists, and dreamers whose creativity lived beyond survival. And through these moments, I remembered we are so much more than our pain. There's artistry and rhythm and brilliance waiting to be uncovered and remembered. And slowing down strengthened my intuition. I began to listen to my body, my emotions, my needs. Softness became the way for me to tend to them instead of pushing them away. So when anger, frustration, envy, or grief surfaces, I learned to pause and ask, what do I need right now? And sometimes the answer was as simple as food, water, or a nap. A lot of times it was a nap. And these micro moments of rest and tenderness rewired the urgency and vigilance that society tries to demand from me. They created space for play, imagination, and presence where 100 excuses to not just be would come in. And through these small moments, I was able to model for my children and my younger self. Rest, play, and creativity are not rewards. They're your birthright. And this year, my garden humbled me and became the greatest teacher. I planted many things, but was particularly excited for chamomile and stinging nettles. I spread 2 packets full, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be amazing. Really hoping for an abundant bloom. I only had 2 chamomiles sprout and no stinging nettles. Yeah, it was sad. So at first I was disappointed, and I shared my disappointment with a dear friend. And she gently reminded me, maybe it's not their season yet. And that simple wisdom softened something in me. It reminded me that not everything is meant to grow right away, and that timing, readiness, and mystery are part of nature's rhythm. So I practiced radical acceptance. I offered the soil and the elder trees at my home coffee grounds, a gesture of gratitude, and stopped pushing for outcomes. I began to tend to what did grow instead of mourning what wasn't. So when things don't work out or doors close, I now pause instead of collapsing into that inner critic spiral. And I ask, was this misalignment? Or was there something else I could have nurtured? And if there is a lesson, I take note and release the rest. So softness here looks like gratitude in the no. It's the practice of relinquishing control. An example was when I was working as a contracted military and family life counselor on a naval base in Guam, and my role was being renegotiated under a new contractor. They were so disorganized, and I realized they were offering me less money as the existing counselor than they were to a new hire that they thought I was applying to. Yeah, it was a mess. Yeah, I hear, no thank you. Yes, exactly. So I realized they were trying to play me about my money. So I advocated for a higher rate. They said no, giving multiple excuses. So with the support and encouragement of my partner, shout out to Justin, I disrespectfully declined. I finished my contract and poured that energy into creating Reset Resilient Wellness, my private practice, with no business background, just intuition and ancestral resilience and endurance. like a bamboo plant, my dad would say, sturdy but flexible. And through that leap, I was able to be invited to lead meditation sessions for the first time with a Guamanian and Chamorro community, an opportunity that would have never bloomed if I had stayed with a place that didn't honor my worth. So that no became fertile ground for a future I couldn't see yet, one that allowed me to grow in alignment with my values, purpose, and creativity. Because sometimes the no is the soil preparing us for the yes that's still germinating. Shout out to Michael and September's theme. Softness taught me my worth. It reminded me that I deserve rest and that I'm so much more than what I can produce, even if it is a lot. Softness helped me thaw that armor that I built from survival and what I thought it meant to succeed. It allowed me to be vulnerable, to be human, not a machine of productivity. I began to actually see how multitasking wasn't helpful. It scattered my presence. So when I slowed down and started offering my full attention to one thing at a time, I made fewer mistakes. I felt more grounded and found more ease. And through my own EMDR and somatic work with my amazing therapist, I realized that my younger self rarely experienced softness. She was mature beyond her years, navigating paperwork for her mom, learning systems that she was too young to understand. Yeah, and learning to survive instead of rest. So now I get to show up for her. I recreate the tenderness she deserved, reminding her that she loves reading, science fiction books, music, dancing, laying in the grass, laughing with her friends. By nourishing her, I nourish myself, and I'm able to cultivate more space for others in my life. Softness ultimately became a way to resist burnout and compassion fatigue. And this created more space for genuine care and love. And by allowing myself the time for rest and repair, I can show up for my community and social change work from a place of grounded care and integrity, not urgency and exhaustion. Softness anchors me in the present, where I can tend to myself, my lineage, my community, all at once. So as you move through your day, I invite you to pause, listen, and soften. Your nervous system is always speaking. Can you take a moment to listen to what it needs? And I invite you to offer yourself one micro moment of softness. It doesn't have to be big or grand. It might look like reminding yourself, you got this. Or stepping outside to feel the air on your skin, savoring your favorite drink, or sending a silly text to a loved one. Because your softness is not just for you. Each gentle breath, kind word to yourself, and softened edge ripples outward. So as we close, I don't want to just leave you with words. I want to invite you into one micro moment of softness together, if I may. So I'm going to take this stand and pretend that I'm tall enough for this. All right. So I'm going to invite you, so you have two options. You can either put your hands on your arms, or you can just place two hands on your heart, whichever feels aligned for you. Feel free to close down the eyes, soften the gaze, whatever feels safe right now. Beautiful. So for the folks that have your hands on your arms, what we're going to do is just gently stroke down. Beautiful. This is what we call havening touch. This releases oxytocin. So does the folks with the hands on your heart, so don't feel like you're messing up. Just a nice movement with it. Beautiful. You look great. So as you do that, I invite you to just take a moment to notice that you're in the here and now, noticing the warmth, the gentleness. And now I invite you silently to tell your nervous system and body, you are safe, you can rest, you deserve softness. And we're going to repeat this to ourselves in our own pace for just 30 more seconds. And just allow yourself to notice. And it feels uncomfy, that's okay. We welcome that too. You are safe. You can rest. You deserve softness. And as you do this and feel this in your body, I just leave you with this. It nurtures you and nourishes the collective. Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Sorry? 10. 10 on the dot. All right. If you need to leave, feel free. Would you be open to doing a couple Q&A?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Jeremy, is that okay? Great. If anyone has any questions for Mao, yeah.
You said fight, flight, freeze, or what was the last one? What is that? I haven't heard that.
Great question. Fawn is a newer addition to these responses, and fawn is what you would call people pleasing. Yeah, I love how that hit. Yeah, and I really wanted to add the fawn. You don't often, you see it, but it's a newer addition because we're seeing that those people pleasing behaviors are out of survival, right? Like it looks like we're pleasing folks because we want to, but it's like, what if I say no? What if I bring up what happened? So we fought, and just so you know, this is all subconscious, right? Like once these survival defenses don't work anymore, that's when you get really aware of like, I don't like that. I don't like what I said, and we ruminate about it. But yeah, great question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have another question for Mao. I have a question.
Oh, thanks.
I got you.
If someone in the room wanted to work with you, what are the options to work with you?
Yeah, so I have these lovely QR codes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I offer one-on-one work, and that could be in somatic healing or specific EMDR work. I also have kind of like a at your own pace resource library that I have recorded meditations and somatic practices. So these 2 QR codes take you to those things.
Thank God. Yeah.
What part of your journey brought you here to Milwaukee?
My training?
Your journey.
Oh, my journey. Oh, good question. My partner, he is doing a PhD in social welfare. So he was like, would you like to go to Milwaukee? And I was like, where's that? Sorry, y'all. Yeah, I was like, do I have to zoom in? I was like, I don't, we're good. Yeah, so I love it here. Y'all are the coolest. Like, I went back to Boston and I was like, everybody's mean here.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 2.5 years now from Guam, so I was excited to hit the big continent. Yeah, thanks for asking. Oh, yes.
Do you find that when you're like teaching classes, and just like in everyday life, are you still like learning to be soft? Is that still something?
Oh yeah, it's a journey for sure. Cause I uncover a layer, and there's another layer of defense, right? Another layer of survival. I mean, I did like I met with 2 folks to prepare for this because I'm like, I'm feeling perfectionism. I'm feeling people pleasing coming up. So just the softness is really giving space to those parts rather than be like, shut up, go away, and pushing through. Because that was what I was really good at, was pushing through and just numbing things down. And I thought I was chill for a long time, which is wild. I was like, I'm such a chill girl. She was not chill. Nice. Thank you.
I have a question about one of your slides.
Yeah.
You were holding, it looked like a separate image of a pack of cigarettes.
Yes. Thanks for asking. That was candy cigarettes. The Lucky Strike. And I wanted to bring that up because that was a part of, I was so stoked. It was at a party, a grown-up party that they had it. And my friend and I were just giggling and so excited to have found the Lucky Lights cigarettes. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification because I didn't realize folks were going to think I was a smoker.
Okay, all right, well, if you have other questions for Mao, you know how to reach her.
Please, love emails.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I just have a few other slides to go through, but let's give her one big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.